trying to use stuff and things, man. Sometimes my brain shuts off. I'm trying to use OBS Studio this time around instead of the Streamlabs. I'm just kind of moving away from Streamlabs. So first things first, I'm going to make sure that everything is gravy. And it mostly looks like it, other than the fact that it says I'm streaming Elden Ring. I am not. So let me fix that. Software and game development. Where are you? There we are. Okay. It's been it's been a little bit, and it's been a long week, so we're going to see how well my brain holds up today. And you may notice, dressed a bit like Charizard. That is because it is cold, and I don't want to have the heater running all the time. Like, I enjoy it. I imagine there's other people that, you know, they like the old wind on them, and I am one of the most voracious wind consumers, but sometimes it's... Oh, what's the old line? Sometimes dead is better. And in this case, I just want to use a little less power, you know? Okay, so what we're doing, I refactored a few things since the last stream. And let me shrink that so I can actually get into my work. Luckily, on the bottom of my screen, I can still see my chat. And then, where'd you go? Hello. And yes, there is. There's a lot on screen. Let me get this down here. Good to see you both. Yes, so what we have is we've got the code, which we probably will zoom in a smidgems, because depending on your resolution, it's going to be a little bit hard to see things. Obviously, the purpose of this is not for people to just kind of copy and paste the code, but if you find yourself learning anything, cool, that's a happy accident. Not that I would suggest that I have the capacity to teach people things. But let's get into what we have and what we need to hook into. So now that it is recompiled, we have made, we have this concept in my work, and you probably, for people who do any sort of dev, I'm using the concept of artifacts for the scriptable objects. So artifacts are scriptable object units that are easy to share between classes. They act very similar to a static class without all of the spooky ghost feels of a static class. A good example is this right here. So this is what I made recently. So this is our, and the way that I name things, excuse me, is each noun, and it doesn't always have to be a noun, but it's almost always going to be a noun. Each noun in the class name gives you an idea of what it is. When you go to use the actual variables in your code, you don't have to do this. Keep it readable and understandable. But for the actual class names, this is what I do. So we have an artifact data player collection Moosecats. So what this is you can kind of think of it like reading by Japanese almost, is that it's a collection of Moosecats that belong to a player. And data is just telling you that it is, again, a collection. So this is a collection of players, and it is their collection. So it's every player that we'll have. So if you imagine, if we add a few more of these, and say the second player has 3 cats, obviously there's no fill out here, but you've got your first player, your second player, and your third player. And so we have all of the data for each of the players condensed into a single object. And this object we can pass around to different things. It's going to be mostly used for loading, I believe, because we also have a collection of the Moosecat handlers, or handler Moosecat, sorry, which is the prefabs that'll be in the scene. But those prefabs are driven in part by the data, because we need to store the colors that are used for the cats, among other things, like their name, who's caring after them, and so on. So the big thing is Unity does not natively serialize 2D arrays, but we need it to. So I went through and did some work and made it so that I can easily nest arrays within one another. Okay, so let's see here what we've got. If we go down to our generator, I'm going to open that up. All right, so the classes we need to finish, or at least look at, is this add, and I don't know if I need any of this notes anymore. I think we're good. Okay, so I'm going to go over what I've done here, and we'll go from there. So we are currently within our data player collection Moosecat. So as I mentioned before, this is every player's collection of Moosecats. Later we'll have things like collections of equipment. You can think of it as inventories, basically, and they're all dedicated to a specific type of thing. If you've ever played something like City Skylines, you'll notice that all of the buildings are collected into like items. And in part, that is because that's how humans would assume that work would be done. You would expect to find all the power plants together. You're not looking for a hospital when you're checking a power plant. But similarly, when you're designing, when you're architecting a game, that is a very easy way to keep your collections separated, because you can kind of take the SQL route of having just a big database where you're looking things up by types and subtypes and stuff like that. But generally, I don't think people want to deal with the upkeep of that, and they're a little bit more fragile when it comes to adding and removing things. And ultimately, a lot of SQL tables end up being, at least the ones I've seen, obviously I don't do database work professionally or anything like that, but the stuff that I've seen and some of that I've made, they're often sub-tabled anyways, so you've got a bunch of different tables for different content. So even in that environment, you're still doing roughly the same thing. It's just that we're trying to make it nice and easy to pass around. And so we've got this data player collection Moosecat, which itself is a database of collection Moosecat, and collection Moosecat is a database of Moosecats. So very simple. It might not initially seem it, but when you start thinking about it, it makes a lot of intuitive sense. We obviously haven't added a summary comment here, so we're going to fix that. So what does this function do? Quite simply, we come in and we have an unassigned collection. And the reason for this is we're going to have one of two things happening here. Either we're going to find that the player already has a collection of Moosecats, or we're going to find out that they don't. And so we actually have to make a collection first and add their cat to it, and then update that collection in the database of collections. So we can put that up here. What song is this from World of Warcraft? Gunships, huh? I'm gonna skip ahead. Ooh, that's a good one. Yeah. Okay, so we have adds Moosecat to player collection. If no collection yet exists, creates one, and that's about it. And then the Moosecat datum to be added. And like I said, even though the class type is data Moosecat because it is a single unit of data, which itself is the Moosecat, we don't have to call it that here. That can be kind of needlessly wordy, so we just say Moosecat. Because we understand within the context of this. And you'll see in some places I don't, like here, I don't follow that rule, and it's strictly because I just forgot. And so I can just come back later and say like collection. And this is a good example of actually why I require you to add a Moosecat, is because we actually find the key for the table lookup by checking the first cat in the collection. So that's why you want to have at least one cat in there, because obviously if you try to do this without a cat in the collection, it would explode. We could modify the way the collections work, but in order to keep the code small and reusable, we don't do that. And really there's no performance gain from adding extra fields just to make it slightly more rigid, more robust. So, and then we're not using a few of these. You could make an argument for making the base virtual, but I don't want to, so I'm not going to. All right, so this one's got a summary comment. This has got a summary comment. This has got a summary comment. This does as well. So does the top. You'll also notice that on my, assuming that my mouse is showing. Let me double check, actually. I don't know. Does my mouse show? It does. Okay. So let me move that out of the way. You can see on all of our components we have developer notes. This is strictly because if I come back to it later, I'm going to not remember why certain things existed, especially with work, because you just often find yourself absorbed in that. So we now have a table collection that we can use with the Moosecat generation. So let's look at our message handler. This is handling every incoming message to the bot. It takes the message, processes it, and then forwards that user, wow, that's not how words work, user message to anything that cares about it. And in this case, there's only a few things to do. The first thing that's going to care about it is the active Moosecat handler. And what that's doing is when the message comes in, I believe this is what it's on. Let me check. State change, Moosecat generated, user messaged. Yeah, when a user messages, we check if they have a kitty. If they don't, we spawn one. If they do, we send off a cat action request. And a cat action request is not something I've made yet, but it's going to be simply just sending a packet of data to the Moosecat to tell it either talk, walk, dance, whatever. But that's how that'll work. So we can come into this class. And we can see, if we work through this real quick, let's see what we've got coming in. So the chat message comes in, and then we grab the player's information. We then get their current active cat key. So there's only a binary outcome here. The player either has an active cat already, or they don't. Someday this could change and it could be a non-binary situation, but for now it is, so that's what we're doing. We check if that key is null or empty. If it is null or empty, that means they don't yet have a cat. So then we create a unit of information. In fact, this is an old name because this is not actually technically an artifact. So we'll just get rid of the word. Right, I see. So we will keep it as datum just so that it separates between these two things, and I'll explain the nuance here in a moment. So we have the information. We create this new Moosecat datum. Inside of that, there's only one thing we know immediately, and it's one thing that we need to know because on the return with the cat, we need to know who it belongs to. So we fire off this generate Moosecat request, which will take us into generator Moosecat. So if we come here, that datum comes into here, so this won't be null in this case. And what we do is we say, okay, if I've remembered to assign this, which I have, send the information generated by this function through that event. So we come down here, we have our, the output. Oh, right. So for generators, you have two things. You have the input and the output. The output is what you're generating. So in this case, we're generating the Moosecat prefab, which is in Unity, when you're generating prefabs, you'll generally reference it by one of the classes that's on it. It's way less helpful to generate things just as game objects or transforms because then you have to get component. This way I can generate the whole prefab, but have an immediate explicit reference to handler Moosecat. So we instantiate the output, assign it to Moosecat. If we did pass data through, we'll assign the Moosecat that data. And if we didn't pass data through, this is going to happen for some effects that I plan to do. Then we'll just give it a blank entry. Technically, we could leave it as null, and maybe in the future I will, but for now we're just creating a new empty entry for it. Now we set the transform of that prefab to the output pool. The reason for that is in the inspector window, we want to keep things well contained so that our window isn't just super gross when we're testing and working on things. It just makes debugging easier. Technically, it's a slight hit on performance, but I don't care. Next, we're giving it a random position on the screen. This is going to be helpful when we go to test the talking, which maybe we'll do tonight. All depends on how time goes and if my brain keeps firing like it is right now. But we give it a random position on the screen. We're currently randomizing the color of the 3 sections that exist on our demo cat. And then we're assigning those 3 colors to the 3 materials that are on our shader. So this allows us, with any particular template, to have functionally, not literally infinite, but functionally arbitrarily infinite numbers of colors. It's some ridiculously high number that is so granular it doesn't matter. We're probably not even going to use them all anyways. We're going to use a specific palette, series of approved palettes, but we have access to the entire color range. Once that's generated, we return that cat, so that comes back to here. So that return gets set into this raise, and we fire that off. Now we go back to the active Moosecat, and that'll be down here. So we'll talk about this in a moment, but let's come back up here real quick. So we have, this was if they didn't have a cat yet. However, if they did have a cat, then we will grab the cat from this structure, which is, as I think about it, very unlikely. So this is actually something, if the cat has already spawned. So let me think about this for a moment. So you either don't have an active cat ID or you do. And then if, yeah. So this would be where the talk request would be. Yes. Okay, this makes sense. So if we find that we've already spawned them a cat, we'll just send off the action request. So let's rename this. So we'll do that, and then we can actually just grab this function name, and even though it doesn't do anything yet, we'll do that. Okay. So if we've already spawned you a cat, then instead of spawning you a cat, because you already have one, we'll send the action request. Otherwise, if you don't have a cat yet, but you do have a cat from a prior stream, for instance, or you left and came back during the same stream, then we'll send off that request to generate that cat again. And this time it'll use the data that was saved the previous time. So that's all happened. Now in the same frame, further down the stack, we end up on Moosecat generated. And so the information comes in, and let's see what I wrote here. Okay, if a key hasn't been generated, we make one for this cat consider moving this to the generator. I probably won't. And then we go and look at the unique ID, or sorry, go back. What was it, F12? I always forget. Yes, cool. F12 is how you get to the implementation if you're on Visual Studio. I don't recall what it is for JetBrains. So it's pretty simple. This is actually technically something that could happen infinitely many times. It's extremely unlikely, but it could happen. So that's it. Technically bad, but you gotta have billions of cats, really. It's gonna be fine. If we get to a point where I need to optimize this chunk of code, that's a really good problem to have, and I will be very happy to deal with it. But for now, we don't need to, so we're not going to. Go back a few steps. All right, so if it doesn't have a key yet, we will assign it a key after it was generated. Otherwise, we're not going to do our diddly squat to it. We're going to get the player's information, and just for safety's sake, we're going to update the player's information so that the current active cat key is the key of the cat we just generated. If it's the same cat they had before, no harm, no foul. If it's one that they didn't have before, or something has happened to where it's changed, then this will keep that reference. All right. And then now we have the data handler Moosecat. This is our collection of all the prefabs currently in the scene. And the nuance here is to separate out the concept of the prefabs and the savable information that may be contained in those prefabs, because you would never save the entire object as a JSON or anything like that, because there's so much information that A, is not going to be true the next time the game runs, like the IDs, like any of the lookup IDs, and B, there's a lot of it that's redundant and would be same from each cat. So you keep within the prefab itself, you keep a smaller container of just the data you want to save and load later, and you just pass that in, which is what we're doing. And then here, let's see. So the other place that we would send the cat action request would be right here. So now in the situation where the cat wasn't spawned, we are sending the action request following its generation. And then in the case where it was generated, we send the action request and don't tell it to generate again. So pretty straightforward. Now we have to think about the concept of cat actions, because we haven't yet actually put in that logic. I don't even know if I've created any base work for that. I don't think so. So what we're going to do is we're going to go down to our prefab, which is going to be where? So I would suspect it would be under foundation. Did I put it in the wrong section? Let's see. The prefab is right here. He's adorable, little galaxy cat. He's currently hiding out in Chatty Moose Catty, but I think that's actually incorrect. So I'm going to move this into the foundation section, because if we do this right, we're going to be actually using the same cats for all of our games. So game objects, Moosecats, we've got some classes, data management. Cool. So then we can just grab all of these, drag that into here, infuriate Unity momentarily, grab this one, build interrupted. I didn't do anything to you, leave me alone. Because the foundation section is for content that'll be used in all three of our games that are coming out of this project. Okay. So now we can go to our cat, now that I have it in the, what I would argue is the proper location. And we can check it out in the scene. Let's zoom in. Hey, buddy, you look adorable. Shoo. We currently have the handler on it. You'll notice here we have this data structure. This is that content I mentioned earlier. It's going to be passed by reference, not by value. So we should be able to edit it in either location and have it be correct in both locations. If we find out later that that's not working properly, I will cry and then figure it out. So it's not a big deal. This is our base level handler. So our base level handler for the cat doesn't do a whole lot other than contain some stuff right now. And it has the string lookups for the various textures that we work with. And like I said, it's got the data field. So what we need to do is we need to add some features to this. Well, actually, I guess first things first, we should make sure that our saving of Moosecat data is working correctly. So there's a few ways that we can do that. The active Moosecat handler is sufficient for this object. I don't think we need it to do anything more than that. But we do need a data handler that will take the information from the prefabs and add it to our collection object, which was... close this one, go down here, which was right here. All right, so let's do that first. We will create empty. We're gonna, I guess this would actually fall under data management, so I'm just gonna move it down there. Player data Moosecat collector. And we're going to make a new class. And this class is pretty simple. It's taking data that is generated and it is pumping it into... Do we want to put this here, or do we just want to put it on the generator, actually? because we could technically just put it on the generator, because we have all of the information we need. And we could do a if caretaker is null or empty here. The only reason that I'm hesitant to do that is I like to keep classes to only do what they're supposed to do. So yeah, there you go. We'll just do this. It's fine. And it can be a new naming convention for us. So we can do a folder, collectors, and Moose collector, Moosecat. I feel like something out of Marvel now. Not because of the music, but just the idea of the collector. Ooh, hydration. It's important. All right. So we need to put this guy in a namespace. Project dot chatty moosecatty. We currently don't have collectors. That'll work. And then we are going to need a private, and we could probably eventually hook this up so that it expects a database and it literally takes in a thing and adds it to a database. So we got private artifact, data Moosecat collection, and we're not going to give it the suggested name, which is enormous. We're just going to call it player Moosecats collections. Serialize that. Still a bit wordy, but we can work with that. It's on the edge, at least when we're zoomed in this far. This is like size 8 trillion font, so it'll be fine. Public void add Moosecat to collection, and we need to pass in data Moosecat. And then we're going to do a player Moosecat collections dot add. Oh, is it valued? Value dot add, and we're going to add Moosecat, and that should be it.
Very complicated.
Takes in a Moosecat and adds its data to the collection. Now, there is one thing we would want to do here. Is if we go into add Moosecat, if it contains this, the caretaker, we then grab the collection, right? Well, there's something we need to do here, because if the cat already exists there, we don't want to just duplicate it in your collection. We want to update the previous information if it's already there. So what we need to do here is if collection.contains, what is it, data? Oh, lookup table, right. Dot contains key, and it's going to be moosecat.key. Then we would do collection dot. Yeah, oh, man, it's so creepy how Visual Studio knows what I'm trying to do sometimes. So if cat already exists, simply update information for cat, and then return here. So if the cat already exists, we will update it. Otherwise, we will add it. Et voila. If cat already exists, information is updated, not added. And so now we can go back to our work. And I think that makes intuitive sense, frankly. But now we can go back to our work and collects Moosecats in response to an event, adds them to a shareable collection artifact. And then we can remove and sort usings. And I think it's done. Something cool you can do in Unity, by the way, is you can actually set default values if it's non-scene objects. So we can actually come over here, set this, and then when I add it in a moment here to this class, the value that's supposed to be on that scriptable object will already be there. And then if Unity crashes later, and I need to collector. See, now it's already there. If the Unity crashes later and somehow I lost my scene references, when I go to remake the mono behavior, the data would already be set. So that's kind of cool. Something I've started doing more. Where you can, obviously there's certain places you can't, like we can't for this because the renderer would be on an object that has to be generated in the scene. C'est la vie. So it is what it is. So now we have this. We can then add a game event. What do we got here? Handler Moosecat event, handler Moosecat. Oh yeah, we're actually looking for listeners. So listener. We don't have a listener for, oh, actually we do. We have one for the handler, which is the prefab. So then we would actually take in handler Moosecat. And then here we would do moosecat.data. Hey, it's a pizza. The Moosecat prefab that should be added. And then over here, we can then update my listener system. What we're going to do is add a response node. Then we're going to grab the event we want, which is the handler Moosecat generated. Then we're going to drag the object we're trying to talk to, which is this. And finally, we're going to go into collector Moosecat and set this to do the add Moosecat to collection. When a Moosecat is generated, we attempt to add or update its data to the appropriate collection. Okay. So now we hit save. We think for a moment. That was painful. Let's not do that again. And we hit play. Something may explode. It's been a while since I've opened it, but now we wait for the data. Oh, we do see an explosion, so let's find out why. Data loader. Oh, because the object loading is likely different now. That's fine. That's fine. So the line that's dying is this, and it's dying because the player data changed, I believe, somewhat extensively since the last time I was doing work. So what we can do is we can actually add a try catch here, just because we're going to be doing development and we're going to be breaking stuff from time to time. What does the data loader do at the bottom level? Object to load. We can actually make this protected for the purposes of what we need. And be object to load equals new. Actually, should be doing data player. There you go. I believe that's correct. And I'm actually surprised that this is not visible. Now that I think about it, hold on. Why is that invisible? Because we see the key, that makes sense. And then the data to load is data player. Ah, that would explain that. System.serializable. I kind of forgot this stuff changed. Now we should see a scriptable object appear here. Yes. Okay. Right. It's going to just show as... oh, interesting. Hold on. So, whoop. The data to load is now not a scriptable object currently, but it does need to be. So what we need to do is make an artifact data player and let's see here. Yeah, okay. So we need to make an artifact of the data player, which is in Chatty Moosecatty because Our fitness game and our regular PC game, neither of those are going to be multiplayer initially, if ever. So we don't need data collections there. So we'll go in here and we're going to create a artifact data player. And we are going to artifact base player data. And I think it's going to complain for a smidge here about missing namespaces. Oh, I did that backwards. Data player. Okay, and then namespace project chatty. Chatty Moosecats. I guess this would still fall under data management and then artifacts. Okay, and then we don't need any of this. In fact, we can just shorten that to that. Kind of the spooky thing about abstracts and stuff is sometimes you just write empty classes for sharing around. And then we can remove and sort. Save that. And then, we need to add a create menu for it. Let's open up this one because I don't want to have to remember what my menu setup was. I like compiling, man. Oh, okay. So, artifacts. And data player. Actually, would argue that this one can just be... Oh, right. I see why I put that there, because there's going to be multiple inventory, so we don't want it to get too messy. And then we need a folder for scriptable objects as far as it comes to data management. And then we go in here, artifacts, data player. And there we go. Now we have an artifact containing, you know what? We can just copy the summary comment. That will be correct. Okay. And then if we just enter here, we can see that we can add multiple players and it's in a scriptable object. Et voila. And then artifact base is a notated scriptable object. We need to do a little bit with this. We need... I gotta think about this for a moment. So basically, the one thing that will break from this is our load call. So we do artifact data player, and it's going to complain that it is not of type loads from JSON, I think it is. So we're going to actually back this up a schmidgems. And we are going to, because I believe that's the complaint. Yeah, there's no conversion to the interface I loads from JSON. So if we go and look at our artifact base, we could already change this or fix this by simply removing this expectation. But I'm going to try and not lose it. So what I'm going to do is go over to our artifact base. I loads from JSON, I saves from JSON, saves to JSON. These interfaces do not require any extra work, I believe. And if this works the first time, I'm going to feel like a wizard. But I don't think it will. Boy, if it does, though, that would be sick. Artifact data player. Remove and sort usings. All right, we've got our scriptable object reference. So we come in here and we set that reference. We come into the loader, we set that reference. We go over to the player, we hit save. My God, it works. Holy shirt. So now we've added holy shirt. So we're going to hit save. And we can see here that it is saved. The holy shirt. Man, after a long week of trying to problem solve things, just having stuff work the first time you try it. And then if we go into, let's clear this data, clear the holy shirt, go into our loader, hit load, click on this. Holy shirt, it worked. Okay, well, time to reward myself with some hydration. Oh my gosh, I'm so glad that worked. All right. I feel, man, you jump back far enough. When I started coding, I had no idea how to make interfaces work. Like, they're not that complicated, but oh, it was wizardry for me. I just made, some blank classes, technically, kinda, and got saving and loading working. That's tasty. All right, so next thing we need to do is hit save and whoops. Need to hit save and hit play. Now we're going to try again. This should not explode. Wait, hold on. Finger over here. This should not explode. No explosion. We do have the holy shirt. That was, I meant to delete that, but we do have the holy shirt. We've entered into, You know what? I'm going to fix this because the thing is I want to point here because on my screen, that is where I want my finger to go.
But I am mirrored, so
Yes. Okay, so let me scroll that back out of the way. And ooh, I scrolled it too far. So on this one, on this guy right over here, we are now in the state, we've entered the game active state. So testing. Ooh, we did have a null reference, but that's fine. We can fix that. So the reason that happened is because the key is being set on the active Moosecat handler and not in the generator. So when past me suggested this being in the generator, this being in the generator, like even literally, it's literally right here. Consider moving this to generator. I was correct. I should not have argued with him. Clearly, he was wise beyond his years. So we're going to clear this. We're going to go back to the generator. And down here, we're going to say, if the key is null or empty, and if moosecat.data.caretaker is not null or empty, which admittedly, again, bit of a long line. So we're going to say, if it doesn't have a key and it does have a caretaker, actually, we can write this in a much handier way. If it doesn't have a key and it does have a caretaker, generate a key for it. And then here, I see. So I had a reference to the all the prefabs. Data handler Moosecat. Is that in the foundation? If it is, it is. Okay, we're just going to put it in here then. That's totally fine. Because we can go that direction. Private data handler Moosecat. And we can just call it Moosecats handler. It's fine. It's fine. It's good to mix things up a bit. Keep your life exciting. And then we are using that here. Again, a little awkward. We could alternatively generate a separate function for the collector to work off, or a separate event for the collector to work off of. Let's think. The danger to that is you suddenly create a space in between generation and adding it to the collection, where if anything in the middle there wants to find it in the array or in the dictionaries, it can't. So we want that key to exist from the moment of generation. So I've convinced myself to put it here. As awkward as it feels, I think it's good. Didn't I hit save? I did. Ah. Wait, no, that doesn't matter. That doesn't matter at all. Serialized field. Let's hit save. Come back over. We have the output pool. We got the spawned event. Oh, I would need this to be an artifact, actually. And I have one. No, I don't currently. I had one, and it got broken from the refactor, so we need to create one. Okay. Artifacts. C# script, artifact, data handler Moosecat. Open that up. Artifact base of type data handler Moosecat. And then we alt enter here. And then we add this to the namespace of, this is in Foundation, correct? Yes. Namespace project foundation game objects. We'll go Moosecats. Artifacts. And paste it in there. Go in here, hit the spaceroos a few times. A simple container for the collection of all active Moosecat prefabs. We can get rid of these lines and hit save. Go back over to our generator. Change this to artifacts, data handler Moosecats. And then we will take a step back to find another menu, because I genuinely hate typing these out by hand. I always go and find them elsewhere and then paste them. Foundation, artifacts, data handler Moosecat. And then we can just come in here and grab that line. Oh, yeah. Sorry. Okay. Grab that artifact. Didn't create it yet. Create the artifact. Use that name we had before. We'll steal the code comment. And then we're actually going to move this up here. All right. So we've got our artifacts, our handlers, our prefabs. We can come over to the generator, assign that, and then yeah, that actually, okay, no, that makes total sense because the collector and the generator are working with separate objects. And then the user activity isn't even using it, or the active Moosecat handler isn't even using it. Okay, no, this is all working out just fine. So now we'll clear, save. We have edited 83 things tonight. What? I may have renamed something. Okay, we've only edited actually about 15 things. That's less weird. We'll hit play. Okay. Yep, we're there. Kaboom. Okay, so we did have an error, but that's fine. Let's go see where it is. So we have a null reference error. Let's look at our generator. So we know we have the active Moosecat handler. So let's do a breakpoint here. And I'm going to assume it's going to let me message again without it being totally dead. Explode. You actually need to attach to Unity before you're going to get a debug out. My brain's not all there. Spawn. Nothing like reloading script assemblies to really fill you with dread. Ah, there we go. Failed to deserialize behavior. Well, good news is I didn't ask you to. So let's close it and reopen it. Oh, visual scripting got mad. Well, it should know better than to get mad. Man, I'm just pleased as punch that that artifact stuff earlier worked so quickly. Oof, that's good stuff. Punch. All right. So the key is null. That's fine. Ah, the handler. The value on the handler is null. So let's go look at this. That is... Why would that be the case? That is a good question. A good question. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, we can just delete that. Around these parts, we don't keep dead scriptable objects. Let's look at it. Ah. Oh. Merry Christmas. Let's go back. Data handler Moosecat. A system.serializable. I know I forgot a bracket. Leave me alone. Better. Okay. So now it shouldn't be null. He says with all the confidence of someone who has been burned before. Kabloop. Hey! That is progress. So we did hit our warning that the collection data count cannot be 0. So we just need to work backwards through our stack to see why it would be 0. Because the kitty cat was being added right here. So let's attach to Unity. Spoon. I typed that way too early. We haven't even loaded yet. Okay, we've loaded. Sploink. Okay, so we come down here. This is no longer null. That's great. We continue through. We have a collection. Yes, that collection indeed has a count of 0. So why would it? If it doesn't... Oh, I did this backwards. If it already is in there, don't add it again. All right, save. See, sometimes you feel smart. Other times you feel real dumb. Okay, so we enter in. We find ourselves down in the entering state. Create cat. All right. Made a cat. No error messages. Let's go check our containers. Oh my god, my insides are evil. Okay, so we see here that the cat was not added to this collection, but let's work backwards and see if it wasn't added to this one either. So let's see why that would be the case. First observation, we have the wrong things in here. Artifact data player. And we need the other one to be artifact. Because if you look here, it actually did work. So artifact data handler. So when we stop playing, these should change into scriptable objects. Quit your complaining, mister. This is a family channel, and I am not having any of it. There you go. There you go. Okay. So we'll add those artifacts. And we'll do a quick sanity check. We're going to move through our classes and make sure there's no dead fields. Cool. There are not. We'll hit save, hit play.
And we wait.
All right. Skidoosh. Okay, made a cat. Check our collection. Okay, so our... let's see. So the cat is included in the prefab collection, so that's good. Let's see here. The player was added, so that's good. And they have an active cat ID. Let's go compare that to this cat. It is the same, sick, so the key is correct. And then the collector appears to have not worked. So we can go in here, breakpoint here, and then let's F12 in. And we're actually going to breakpoint here. And spooky. We also have to attach the unity first. So there's that. Spooky. Oh, interesting. So it is not spawning another cat. I may have put something in for that, like a check their count kind of thing. Oh, right. So it wouldn't spawn another cat because there's already one currently active. It's just doing the send cat request down here. Okay. So let's close it because we didn't save, I think. Okay, so we'll check our artifacts. We got him. That is correct. And then we are going to get rid of this. Okay, so now we do a test. So we hit, indeed, the section. So we've got the name is, the caretaker is me. We have the random key. So we're going to go in one level, continue. We're going to check if the lookup table contains me. It does not. So then we will come down to here and it'll try to add. And so then, oh, that will do it. And then we need to, well, how do we do that at the base level? It's going to be base dot. Oh, yeah. Okay. Data.add collection, and then this is a database, yep. And then the lookup table, yes, and that should be correct. Because if we go and look at here, yes, okay. There's probably more graceful ways I could have done that, but that's fine. So we hit save there. We'll close this, get rid of this line. We can actually fix this later too. It's not a big deal. And then we will go from there. And then if this works, I will reward myself with a bit of wow, I think. Because next we can put in the cat talking, the cat walking, and we should be back to parity from before, but with a vastly improved code base. So I'm good with that. Good with that. All right, so the active one is correct. It's got the clone. The collector indeed has a collection. So now we have me with one kitty. Fantastic. All right, so the next thing that I will need to do is we need to have a saver for the collections. So we would have, if we go down to the data player loaded, saver and loader, we take this line and we would create two classes. We can actually probably do this real quick right now. C# script saver, and then C# script loader. Just do it. I need to turn off auto compiling. Okay. Open those up. Data saver. What did I call that? saver base. I don't even know, man. Data saver base. Data saver base. And then we just pass in this. That one is done. Other than, I think, updating the object to load. Okay. Remove and sort usings, and then we can basically take this exact line, go over here, just delete all this, and change this to loader. And then we can grab the name. Oh, this isn't in a namespace yet. Okay. Namespace, project, chatty, Moosecatty, data, sounds tasty, data management, IO. Actually, we can just do data management. That'll work, that'll work. Come in here, save, go over here. Okay, save that one. Remove and sort usings. Remove and sort usings. Obviously we're missing some code comments, but we'll fix those at some point. Close all but this, and then just close that as well. We will hit enter on those two so that we remember to add code comments later. Which one did I close? I closed the loader. And then we will come over to the loader, or this area, and we will simply say create empty, player data Moosecat. You know what? Let's just do it this way. Create empty, loader, and saver. And then we can do player data, or data player loader, and then saver. And we need a few events here. And by a few, I mean literally one each. Data saver, save. The artifact is this one. Key will be player data Moosecat collection. Saves all the cat data collected by the Moosecat collector. And then the loader is going to need this state. When it is safe to do so, we load all the data for the players. And then we'll come down here, we'll paste as new, drag this in here, go in and say load. And then we're going to just take this key, because we need to load the same key. And similarly, when safe, we will load all of the Moosecats collected into the database. And then down here, waits until it is safe to load, then it calls the load request. And then we can regenerate our nodes for the visual scripter. Not that I'm using it right now, but we don't want it to get too bad. Take your time, buddy. It's okay. We got nowhere to be. I was joking, but I'm glad it finished. Okay. So then, I suppose we could test it out. So we'll hit play, let it load up. Hopefully it won't immediately die, but maybe it will. You never know. It did not. It did load nothing, but that makes sense, especially if our collection is... Oh, it is serialized. Okay. Test. So we spawned a cat. We do notice that we have 2 entries for me in here, so we need to make sure that we don't do that. This is the data player collection Moosecats. So what happened here is it came in with the cat. It looked up whether or not I was in the table. And then, weirdly, oh, because the keys are different. Right. So it created a new cat for me instead of using my prior one. If we look here, we also have multiples of me here. So we'll work that out tomorrow. That'll be our, or the next time we stream, that'll be our bug to fix, is duplications in the database. If we go here to save and hit save, we, that's the player one. Oh, wait. Did I make data player saver, data player? Oh, that's the wrong thing. Let's remove that. This is what I wanted. And then we'll drag that down in there. And then hit save. Grab that. This. And then when it is safe, or sorry, saves all collected Moosecat data. Okay. This may cause a failure on load, but that's fine because it was saving the wrong data to that key. It did not, but we do want it to save the proper thing, which currently is a bunch of empty fields, which might make sense because it was the wrong data. Testing. So we sent in, it made a cat, comes in here, and then obviously it won't make another for now. But we do have another entry here. So if we go and look at our data player, so when we add a player, we check whether or not they aren't in the table. Or no, this is the get, sorry. The add is simply checking whether... Oh, interesting. So let me check my keys. For data player, the key should be my name, correct? Bloop. Oh, I gotta attach. Bloop. Well, let's close and reopen. And we'll also clear this collection. Let it play. We see that it does load in all of me, so good to be popular, I guess. Okay, so we come here. We have our lookup. Oh. What's this the lookup table for currently? This is for getting the player's data. Oh, when it's being loaded, we are not currently populating the lookup tables. So what happens is the list gets updated from the JSON load, but dictionaries cannot save or load into JSON, at least with the one built into Unity. So it sees that as empty, So what we want to do is add in a refresh. I think we currently don't require keyed. How many databases do we have? Is this one keyed? This one's keyed. If we change that to keyed, does it die? It does not. If all of them work, I might just get rid of the base database and just make them all keyed. Let's see here. Where are the other two references? Keyed. Okay, so this one doesn't work, and this one doesn't work because it's a collection of a collection, and the key for a Moosecat collection, let's see, I keyed. If I were to do this, the key would be the first cat. So we would have data.0.caretaker. This is the owner of this collection. And so if we do that, then this could be a keyed database. And then if we come down one more, the last one that exists is keyed. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to, I believe we're going to nuke the base in a sense. What we're going to do is we're actually going to take this. Well, I guess, so the benefit here is that the benefit here is that if I ever hit a situation where I can't do a keyed database, then I could just use database. So I guess there's a valid use case for keeping it. So we'll just keep it for now so that I don't have to redo this later if I find a situation where I need it. But what we do need here is we need to add a public void refresh lookup table used on load to fix the lookup tables. Otherwise, they will be blank. And so what we do here is we do a for. You could do a for or a for each. For each tkey datum in data. We go lookup table datum.key equals datum. And that takes care of it right there. And then we shrink this window. Sorry, it was probably quite large there for a moment. And I'm gonna delete a few of these. And then similarly, where's my cat collection? 2117 is the one I want to keep. Active cat key, that. And then the collection of Moosecat. Let's see here. It's the second one. Okay. So we'll delete that first entry and we'll hit play. So now when I talk, it should, in theory, let's change this cat's name to Plorp. It's a solid, strong name, and we'll see how it goes. Oh, and does that key match? Key It does match. I forgot to save the database save. Now it's just me. Also, I could probably get rid of Holy Shirt. As funny as he was, good guy, but not what we need for now. And then we'll save this one as well. Okay, and then we'll test. Send a good old number. And if we go and check the cat, the name didn't carry, but let's look at our other stuff. Okay, so we did make 2 of us. Oh, we're not calling refresh yet. So there's a few ways we could do this. We could simply, on any of the add or remove requests, etc., we could refresh the table if it's empty. Or we could more explicitly do it on the load. Loads from JSON. And so then if we go over to we know these can't, but the artifacts can. You know what? For now, I think we are going to do that just because it it's just easier, and then we can figure out a smarter solution later. And yeah, we could, because the thing is I don't want to have copied code, so I'm going to have to think about a good way to, there's no way that removing would happen to before then. Add might, get might. What the hey, we might as well just put it on all of them. Okay. So now it should work, he says. We'll delete the second one. We'll delete the second one. We'll hit save, and then we'll hit play. I really appreciate also that the more I work on it with this new framework, the more it makes rational sense to me, which is nice. Okay, so we'll get rid of that one because it hadn't saved yet. We'll clear out this field. We'll get rid of this one, and then testing. Okay, so we did have an error, but that may actually be completely fine. Because there was a null field in the active Moosecat list, and it wouldn't have known that I deleted it. On enable, if Unity editor and if data value dot data dot clear value dot lookup table dot clear. This is just to fix this particular one while we're in editor. When in editor, clear this collection on load. Okay, so things have loaded. That collection is empty. Again, these ones have one too many simply because the previous work was incorrect. And then testing. Okay, so we do have a null reference. Oh, again, because I deleted those after they loaded. Okay, so hold on. Save and save. Next time I should just call this, because then if I call this, it should save both. Oh, they're not actually listening at the moment, but anyways, let's see. It should be fine this time. One praise, you know. So we see we only have one of me there and my one cat. Testing. We did get an error still. So let's see, where do we get the error and why? So we go checking the data handler Moosecat, which is this object. It should be clear. However, we can see that it isn't. So let's attach. Oh! This literally must be null. Whoops. We would have to create a new one here. So what we need to do actually is if there's a cat ID. Okay, so we need to do some logic here. So bool has active cat equals false, and then we're gonna say oh yeah, so we can do this first. So if they have an active cat ID, then they actually no, hold on. I'll explain the problem in a moment and then we'll work through the solution. So this tells us whether or not we've ever had a cat. If we've never had one, then we need to generate one from scratch. But if we do have one, then so if we do have data, we are looking at the wrong section. So this shouldn't be sending this information. It should be sending from the collection. Yes. So we need to do artifact Moosecat what do we call it? My brain. So we need private I'll enter serialize this. Contains all the Moosecat data for all active players. And then this one contains all of our active Moosecat prefabs. Okay, so what we actually need to do here is datum Moosecat datum equals this dot get datum active cat ID. Does that, or does it have to be by username? What do we got here? Yeah, we got it by key. That's fine. Oh, but yeah, so this would get us the collection first. So username, do we have that up here? Player dot username. Okay. Did you seriously just do systems.collection instead of... all right, collection bookcat. I'll just do var. When in doubt, when you want it to be shorter text, you just do var. Collection dot get datum, and this will actually be active cat ID bar Moosecats datum. They have an active cat, but it hasn't been spawned. Ah, I see. And then hit save. So now it shouldn't throw that null. One sure hopes, at least. Right. I was trying to remember what I was doing. Spawn plorp. Look up table. Count is 0. Why is the count 0? What are we even doing here, huh? We're adding me. Oh, interesting. The data was also 0. Oh, did I send a message too soon? That may have been what happened there. No, okay. It is null here. Is it because I never assigned the value on this thing? Yeah. That'll do it. Definitely overcomplicating that problem. Plorp. Plorp to the rescue. Whoops, I sent that message too early, I think. Okay, so lookup table, count of 0, a little depressing. Let's see. That's coming from here. Oh, in this case... No, it should still add it. The data is 0. Oh. So it's dying there. And it's dying because the collections object doesn't see me, perhaps. Because that's line 70. Oh, line 72, actually. Oh, right, because the collection would be null in this case. So it goes looking for my collection and cannot find it. So we take a step back. If we look at this collection, it is, when we go to get a Moosecat, we check whether or not the player is in this. So then if we go and look at the active handler, this is pulling from the collection. So let's pin that. Our data player collection Moosecat, data player collection Moosecat. Let's close out all of these other things because we don't care about them for now. What did we fix here? Okay. We will keep that. So we're finding that when we come in to this request here, first things first, this first collection appears to be empty. So my theory is that if we check the refresh, we're going to find that the data is empty. So let's hit play. Okay, so test. So we hit here. Yeah, data count is 0. Okay, so why would the data count be 0? If we work backwards, message was received. That's good. We tell it to get to the player. They are clearly not in the database yet. So we tell it to add them. So what we should be doing here, technically, I suppose, is seeing if we can get them. Yeah, so we should be doing that instead. It's irrelevant to the problem, but it's something that we're going to need to remember. Okay. So this is empty, and this is for the collection. So let's back out here. Is this loader loading the right thing? It is not, I don't think. Yes, okay. So our loader was hooked up incorrectly. So if we look here, we are still loading. Oh, do I just have the wrong wording here? Ah. And then the other one. Yeah, okay. So that's what happened there. So this is actually 2 keys. And then we kaploop. We still die. Okay. But they are loading. So that's the confusing thing. So we see content here, which is the list. So if we go into here, get datum key equal no. I think that's why we had this override here that was not going through our normal pathways. And then yep, that's fine. Okay. So that should fix those. Except for this one. So our laziness to a degree is what trolled us there. That is fairly common. But you live and you learn. It's not a big deal. It's because this is a 2D container, it has some special changes. So. Okay, so we're loaded in. Test. Okay, so we did hit a Stack Overflow. So let's see why. Oh, is it needs to be? Ah, yeah. So this would be calling itself, but we actually need it to call base.getDatum. Yeah, that happens. And that should take us through that, yeah, break, the fixer. Okay, spawn plorp, please. Okay, so what's the issue this time? The player failed. So, Actually, this should be this. If it does equal null, then make one. Otherwise, go get it. Ploink, or plonk, I suppose is what I'm writing. Okay, so there's a Stack Overflow. Oh, I see. So you go to Add Player. $22 is leading to 24, it says. So add goes to get, which is coming back up here. That won't actually matter. Okay, so let's think about this real quick. So we check whether or not they exist. Could just do that. Okay, so we'll try that. So if they don't, or if they exist, then we'll return that. We could actually do this. And then go like this. Return player, otherwise player equals that. Return player. Yep. Test. Still got a Stack Overflow. Okay. So adding them. Yeah, so what's happening is the get. Is that really what I have? No, you can't do that. Right. So the reason that doesn't work, and it would never work, is because it is calling this. Let's see here. Yeah, think for a moment. Because there's a few. Let's see. Would this? I have a thought. Does that work? I assume not, because that's redundant, right? Probably just means that we have to do this the appropriate way and refresh the tables after load. Yeah, okay, so we're going to have to refresh the tables after load. And we won't be able to call virtual functions like this because of what we just saw, which is the inheritance issue. So that is totally fine. We can just come into these, go in here, override. Oh, we need to actually make it virtual. Public virtual void. And we're going to say override load. We'll call base, and then object to load dot value dot refresh lookup tables. After the load, we fix the lookup tables. And we can do the same for our other one. So you try to save a few minutes and you end up wasting 20 or 30. It happens sometimes. And then we'll just come in here. And that should be done too. And then we go back to our keyed database. And we know we can't do this. So we need to go back to the future, as they say. And then that is all good there. And then we can go back to our player. There we go. Correct. 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 Okay. Correct. 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 And then that's all good. What? Going here. What are you talking about? I control Z'd a little bit too much there. Okay. So let's try this again. Hey, we did spawn them. We have a null here. And that's coming from here. Which might make sense. Because he didn't get a name or anything, so... Well, that's breakpoint there. Test. You really got to make sure to attach before this will actually work. Oof. Okay, so we got OFCAD. We've got our collection, which has me in it. Okay. So this is now working. We've got our data. Let's go back one. Or some number, actually. So we ended up with a null cat on the return. Yeah, okay. So the cat here has an empty data field, which means that the input coming through was null. So we want to go back to here. And so this was null. Plorp is there. In fact, Plorp is there twice, it looks like. But the lookup table was never refreshed. And that might make sense, actually. And then object to load value oops. Wow, that's spooky. Okay. So this will refresh all of the databases. Since, again, it's a 2D, so we actually do need to refresh all of them all the way down. It's like turtles. Oh, whoops, I wasn't running. So we let it load. Gets in. Then we send the message. There it is. Plorp is now loading. All right. So like I said, our collection... Oh no, I only see one. That's fine. Sick. Okay. That took a little longer than I was expecting, but now saving and loading of the cats is working. There should be a save request every minute, which would save anything that's been done in the last minute. But yeah, I think that's a really good place to stop. And I'm gonna go play a tiny bit of video games before I head off to bed. So, you know what? Oh, and there's the save. Cool. Yeah.